Stunning. Okay, so just to recap, we're going to go over the Maslow model, endocrine system, nervous system, and how that overlays one another, and then the mindfulness techniques in which we can manage our system, manage our being. Okay. So just an overview of the Maslow hierarchy of needs. I'm going to go into detail. So it's just more of a visual in terms of where it falls. We have the deficiency needs in the first 4 layers, and we have the second 3 to 4 layers. We've got our growth needs. And this will obviously, sorry, I'm just being a bit distracted. This will talk in much more detail about this, and you'll start getting a sense of how it all relates in terms of physiology, biology, and psychology. Cool, love you, baby. See you later. Right, so basically on the meridian line, you know, we talk of the chakras. I don't know if any of you guys know of the meridian line, but a lot of people speak to it, and I'm really not trying to be religious or anti-religious. It's just something that really speaks to me in terms of practicality from a spiritual point of view. So on that meridian line, we've got the root chakra, and it's at the base of the spine. I'm going to take you through the whole journey, but basically it's your survival, your primal instincts, what you feed yourself, your exercise, where you come from, and your development and your physiological needs and how those are met in terms of a foundation. So if you imagine building your house on a solid foundation, that would be the core where everything works up or works towards. On the endocrine on the endocrine level, we speak to the adrenals, and this is where your adrenaline sits. So from a physiology point of view, if you are not balancing within this area, you're feeling maybe fatigued, insomnia, poor digestion, low blood pressure, sensitivity to cold, loss of appetite, poor recovery from exercises. Basically, that would speak to your adrenal system. It is also your, you know, whether you're male, female, it's everything to do with who you are as a physical human being. Okay. Then we move on to the sacral area of life, which is just below your belly button. And this is where your emotions lie, almost the most intimate part of yourself. Your relationship with other people, but not more the relationship, but more how you're sharing yourself with people. And also your center for creativity. It's also the place where you feel safe to share or where you want to hold back, you know, depending on your comfort. And then from an endocrine system, that it speaks to your gonads and the reproductive system and sexual behavior. Okay, so then, I don't know, are you following? You guys cool? All right, so then we're moving on to just above the navel, the area where your rib cage almost meets. And that we're talking about the solar plexus. And it is it relates to our gut, relates to everything in our digestive system. So when they say trust your gut, and you know in your gut something is not right, and we're going to see why now. So it speaks to your purpose and your belonging. And if we recap a little bit, if you go down to the foundation, we go down to your truth and where you feel most comfortable and who you're sharing that with, you almost start getting a sense of purpose and a sense of where you belong. So you start developing this will and this empowerment. In terms of the endocrine system, you'll be looking at your pancreas, so where you digest. And I think you guys know what I mean when it's a trust your gut situation. It's not on a outer level, it's on a physiological level. It's like something feels weird. Okay. And so it probably is. And then the function of the pancreas is to create hormones that regulate blood sugar, so where that energy comes from, and also to help with the digestive system. So, I mean, if you think about it, it's kind of lovely to see how everything starts speaking to each other. And when we get to the mindfulness part, you'll see how it starts relating. From there, we go onto the heart, where the top of our lungs, it's where allergies kind of formulate. It's speaking to your esteem needs, you know, your compassion for people, your ego. It is also related to your thymus, which speaks to your immune system and keeping you alive, keeping the heart going, right? The next is we start, now we're at the end of those first Maslow model, those first needs. And we started the deficiency needs, and we're starting to go into the developmental growth needs. And this is interesting because it's also where we start seeing the nervous system come into play in terms of the overlap. Now we've got our reasoning that is coming into play because we have our foundation, we know what our truth is, we know what our purpose is, and we know how to deliver that on a compassionate level and how we feel about certain things and where our ego takes all the beliefs that become as part of those systems. And now we're talking about your story. So you have a story to tell coming from the base up. And you start to reason, okay, how did the story become? Who are the main characters? How does that apply to my life? You start asking questions, you start talking about maybe your purpose, and you're kind of on this discovery. And some of us have discovered it and some of us are still busy discovering, but we're communicating and we're asking and we're sharing and we're reasoning out. So we also speak to the thyroid, and this is actually speaks to all the other endocrine system glands, which I find fascinating because it's kind of starting to tie up everything from the bottom to the top and how you communicate that. This is my favorite part, in the sense that you've got your thinking caps on it, and your what are you imagining, and your mind's eye. And this video talks about neuroplasticity, and it's a new area of study, and we're talking about. I just want the video to talk to it, and then I'll speak to it afterwards. But basically, now you're working with your nervous system, and it's tying up to the endocrine system. So your endocrine and your nervous system are together now, and they're speaking to each other. The pituitary gland, so I'm just going to jump quickly to the pituitary gland before I do the video, and that is the master gland of all the other glands, and it's regulating your hormones. In terms of sleep, it helps when you sleep for your growth hormone to activate. So you're growing. And when you see this neuroplasticity, it speaks to growth within the mind. So I'm just going to give it about 6 minutes, and I'm just going to play. Let me know if it's playing all right or if there's any problems.
Sorry, Candace. We're backing to hear the video, and I think there's a setting that you need to do when you do before you do the recording on Zoom.
Is that better?
I think it's a setting that's got to be done before you actually share the presentation.
Okay, I'm gonna okay, let me pause it. Sorry, guys. What did you say might help?
I think it's a setting that you're going to do on Zoom before you actually share your presentation, that allows you to play music through, the videos through the sharing option. I'm just trying to, but you might have to stop the recording to be able to do it.
Oh, okay. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain it then, and I'm going to send it on the recording. I think then it should be okay. Otherwise, I'm going to send the link to the video.
Yeah, that might be a better option.
Yeah. Are you backing to hear it like completely?
We're just reading it at the moment, yeah.
Oh, okay. That doesn't help at all. Okay, thanks, Charmaine. Okay, so basically what it's saying is that what you sense on the outside literally fires off on the inside, and it develops neural pathways. And with more experience and with the more you treat it and practice it, the thicker those pathways become. And if you don't really use it, it sort of disappears, or it goes into a memory somewhere that maybe one day you kind of come back to it and then it fires again. And depending on how many times it fires, it develops this kind of like this highway of information. And because the brain always follows the easiest path, it's kind of like when you're riding a bicycle where you learn to ride a car or drive a car. At the beginning, you're very aware and your neurons are firing everywhere, but then it starts to become very easy, and it even goes to the subconscious side of things. So when you're looking to manifest things, and I think people get a bit off here when they're talking manifestation, because it's not something you just reach into and a dream up and then it becomes there in front of you. It is something that you kind of have to work on. Kind of like if you use it, for instance, if you see a car now that you want, and say it's a Rolls Royce, now your reticular activating system, which is your RAS, picks up on all the Rolls Royces that you've never seen before in your life. Now all of a sudden you're seeing it everywhere. Then your brain's like, oh, okay, let me specify a color, and then you go onto the black Rolls Royces, and then you kind of always picking up the black Rolls Royces wherever you're looking. And then you tell yourself, okay, I'm going to go to the dealership because I'm going to feel this and what it feels like. And you sit in the Rolls Royce, and now you're literally sensing what it would be like in the Rolls Royce. So every action that you and perception that you feed in your brain is contributing to that neural pathway. And so eventually you're kind of at the dealership and this is what I want. And this is like, you're imagining yourself driving it. Then you start thinking, what do I need to do to get it? Then you start coming up with almost subsections in your brain to, okay, so I need money, how I'm going to get that money, et cetera, et cetera. So you start developing those areas for the ultimate goal, and it fires off to different maybe neurons and forms different neural pathways, but it comes back at the end of the day thickening. As long as you're practicing, you're manifesting. Does that make sense? So that's pretty much what the video is saying, just in a very much more scientific kind of way. And what I love about it is that you look at Maslow's model and you see the aesthetic needs. And now you're going from yourself and that to wanting something. And you're looking for beauty, form, and balance, and you're looking to create it. And this system, your neurological system is playing right into that. And it's just lovely that you're seeing the physical side of the speak. It's becoming a reality in my mind, at least. All right, so when we go forward, I think I explained the pituitary gland is, that's a nice one because it's like the seat of the soul. It's like right in the middle of your brain. And did I explain the pituitary gland? Now I'm a little bit lost, but anyway, basically regulates all the other, it's like the master of all the endocrine systems. Okay, so pineal gland is the one that I wanted to show you. That one is the seat of the soul, and it regulates the body's internal clock and circadian rhythms. Circadian rhythms are your physical, mental, and behavioral changes within a 24-hour period. So you see how everything is starting to connect as a whole. And this brings me to your transcendent self, or your self-actualization, where you have now become that whole part. Now the question is, where do you fit as that whole into a bigger picture, like the world or the universe? And how do you contribute once you've discovered your whole being? I think it's a very nice place to start when it comes to healing, because once you go into it and you know those trigger points and you know what's causing them, it helps you to contribute to a better or a bigger picture, if that makes any sense. Okay, so as you can see, the overlay between the endocrine system, the nervous system, and the meridian line. I just found it so fascinating how it all comes together. So now we go into mindfulness, which is, I'm going to take you through an exercise which explains it nicely. But basically, it's just being more aware of what you're doing in a moment, being aware of your surroundings, being more aware of self. And so this brings me to the exercise. But first, before I get into the exercise, did that all make sense to you? Okay, good. Because now I'm going to take you through this exercise, and I just want you to keep all that in mind. What you're going to need to do is just find a spot where you're supported. So, I don't want you to feel uncomfortable in your seat, or, I want you to really find a comfortable spot, because I want you to very much sense what's going on without distraction. And then also, while we're doing the exercise, notice your dominant sense. Are you feeling it? Are you seeing it in your mind's eye? Try and notice your dominant sense. Okay, are we ready? Cool. Okay, so let's close our eyes. Right. I want you to notice the sounds around you. Know that they are there in the background and notice that you are safe. Imagine a white light dancing on the top of your head. Let the light illuminate your body. What can you see? Are there colors? Are there smells? Are there feelings? Without judgment, notice it and store it away. Just put it on the side for later. And I want you to take a deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. As you're watching your body from the outside in, I want you to notice the outside of your body and start from the ground up. So we're going to look at our feet. We're going to see what is around our feet. What does the skin look like? And going up your legs, to your knees, to your thighs. What is the sensations in your mind's eye? What are you sensing? Is it dominant in one leg over the other? Okay. I want you to notice what you see and put it one side for later. I want you to then kind of look around your body on the outside again. Notice the muscles in your lower back. How are they feeling in your abdomen? What are you seeing on the outside? I want you to take that thought without judgment and put it one side. Then I want you to take notice of your above your belly. I want you to go around. I want to see, what do you notice? How is there any sort of discomfort? Is there something that you'd like to change? Are you in gratitude for the awareness of that, or are you happy with what you're seeing? I want you to take that thought without judgment and put it to one side for later. And you see the light going around your heart, going around the outside, noticing your shoulders. I want you to notice if you see anything on the outside. Something, do you feel, do you see any visuals coming to mind? I want you to take those thoughts without judgment and put them to one side for later. Now your little light goes around your throat and around your head. I want you to take notice of your lips. I want you to take notice of your cheeks, of your nose, of your eyes, of your ears. Are you happy? Do you want to make changes? Take those thoughts without judgment, put them aside for later. And as the little light comes to the top of your head, I want you to imagine going inside. And as it goes inside your head, it illuminates the brain, illuminates the functioning. And you start to notice in your mind's eye, or you start to feel, use your senses to explore. Notice what you see. Put it to one side for later. While the little light goes down within your face, within your sinuses, in your ears. Which side is it dominating on? Where are you sensing? What are you sensing? Take those thoughts, put it aside for a little later. And as the little light goes down into your chest area, notice your muscles. Notice, how is your heart beating? Is it fast? Is it slow? Are you relaxed? Notice if there's any stresses. Notice if there's anything to be grateful for the awareness, or just because your heart's beating. Take those thoughts, put it to one side for later. Your little light is going down and it's swimming in just above your belly, swimming around in your stomach. See what you notice. Be aware of your back, your muscles. Put that thought aside for later without judgment. And it moves down to your below your belly. Let it explore. Where are you feeling? What are you seeing? Put that thought aside for later without judgment. And as the little light goes down to your base of your spine, where it goes down your legs, illuminates all the muscles and the bones, goes down to your ankles and to your feet. Just take notice which area it's dominating. What are you sensing? Without judgment, put it to one side. While the little light is now in your toes and in your feet, I want you to imagine the little light growing roots, and I want you to sink it into the ground. And the roots come up again around you like a glowing circle, and it reaches the top of your head, and you are fully illuminated inside and out. I just want you to notice and be grateful that you have life, that you are fully surrounded by love and light, and that you are safe. You can now slowly open your eyes when you're ready, and then rub your hands together. Everything that you've noticed within that visual, or in however you were feeling it, try and remember it and write it down. It's going to give you clues into your being, whether it's on an emotional level, on a physical level. They will all tie up because generally the stresses cause the physical ailments. Try and notice what they are. Then ask yourself the question, what can I do? What can I do to change it? Or am I grateful for it? And try, use the gratitude as you're going down when you're doing the body scan. How did that feel for everybody?
That was good.
Cool.
Nice.
Cool. Okay, hopefully you guys remember where those spots are and you can write it down and then take notes. So that is that. Have you guys got any questions, comments?
So not so much a question, but you know, I think this is everything sort of that you're touching on today has certainly been sort of the cornerstone of what I've gone out to understand about the world. And you know, I think it's always difficult to try and explain to people that we're not just cognitive beings, we're not just a thinking brain, we're also not just an emotive brain. That a human being is a system. That your biology is driving your psychology, but at the same time, your psychology is driving your biology.
Yeah.
You know, what you, as you said, like with the mindfulness now, what you're becoming aware of becomes your experience. And then what you tell yourself about that experience becomes the story. And the story now becomes the narrative that you now sort of build up into yourself. And I always find it's always quite difficult sometimes for people to grasp that. So I think you did a really nice job. I think it was really cool. It's the first time I've really seen Maslow kind of put across then with sort of the, as you say, with the meridian lines and the chakra stuff like that, because when we look at it, so like I said, from neuroscience, so where you were looking at it at the brain, from that point of view, sort of Maslow's hierarchy changes slightly. And so I thought it was a really, really cool way that you put. I've never seen it put like that before. So yeah, that was very cool.
Cool, I'm glad, Michael. Thank you. Anyone else? You all good?
Thank you so much. I think this couldn't have come at the right time. We all going through so much, and I'm sitting here as you were talking and as we were going through the exercise, for example, says what you were talking about with the Maslow's hierarchy and stuff. As you're going through the exercise, I'm thinking, I could listen to this every day. I could go through this every single day. Like, and only then am I realizing, when I'm looking at myself, I'm thinking, I have a problem. Oh, I didn't know that I've got that. And I could really get out and look at myself for the first time in such a long time. It's humbling, and it's so really, some changes need to be made, as you said, and the presentation has helped a lot to know where to go and how to do things.
I'm very glad.
Thank you so much.
No, I'm glad, Timmy. And it's nice to get that hour to yourself to kind of,
It is.
you know, okay, now I know what I'm doing, and now I can do this by myself, and you can do it in the shower, you can do it, you know, and all. Okay, as you progress, or not progress, but as you do it more often, it becomes the brain. So you'll spend a minute on it, and maybe not a minute.
And sorry, it's Pauline. To me, is my son, so he always uses my laptop. So even last week I wanted to say no. It's Pauline. To me, is my son. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Pauline. Okay, cool. Pauline. Okay. Sorry, man.
No, with school and stuff like that, he always logs on, so it always comes up as him. Sorry.
Yes. So, well, you've got a new name.
Yes, I know. Last week I was like, okay, yes, it's me. Thank you so much.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. Enjoy it. Okay, anything that you guys want to talk about in terms of initiatives or news or? No?
It's been just a week slog, so yeah, no, nothing in that space, unfortunately.
Okay.
It's been sort of, I think everyone's kind of trying to find their feet after the chaos that we've just been through, and I certainly I still get a sense that there is a huge amount of insecurity in the space in terms of what's next, you know, and I think that's the big question people are asking, like what's next, what's happening today. Certainly, if you saw what happened in Santi today, which is completely unrelated, but you watch out very quickly, people will jump on that and they'll say, oh, look, it's starting up again. It was actually an unrelated issue. Yeah, it was riotous in its approach, but completely unrelated. So I think, yeah, I've just found that I'm out there. There is just this air of anxiety in the world and in the environment. Yeah, so I think, yeah. You've really got to do, like you're saying now, do the mindfulness, remind yourself that you're connected to something that's greater than just yourself, and be aware. I think that's just the most important thing. We get so absorbed into our day, we're not really paying attention to what's going on around us. And it's really to become a little bit more aware of what's happening around us and a little bit less aware of what's happening in the media. I can put it that way, right? So when people say to me, well, Mike, you don't really seem to be affected by what's going on. And I'll go, why? What's going on? They'll say, did you watch the news? I'm like, no, I didn't.
Yeah.
Like, the quickest way to happiness is turn off your TV.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
But become aware of what is actually happening. So like this that you did right now, that sort of external to internal awareness of where you are and what you're feeling and stuff like that. Become a bit aware of the people around you, and you start to realize there are huge similarities that are being shown to us at this point in time. We're all experiencing this level of anxiety. We're all asking, what's next? What's happening? How are we going to deal with it? But we internalize and we go, I'm feeling that. You know, and it's not just I'm feeling that, we're feeling that. You know, and I think that's when we start to accept that, it kind of normalizes it a little bit and makes it a little bit less scary. Because if you're anxious about it and I'm anxious about it, that means we're conscientizing it. That means, well, we can actually do something about it. You know, we're not alone in the space. So I think, Candice, what you put together here is such a great example of what we can do about it. You know, and sort of like, I suppose the question is just how do we take something like this, like a platform like this, and how do we get it out to other people? How do we start inviting more and more individuals to kind of come onto something like this and experience something like this? I would certainly like to sort of invite some of my co-workers in the property space With your permission, I'd like to sort of put it out there with them as well and see, maybe they'd like to take up on this.
Yeah.
It's difficult.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely a pleasure. You share it on your groups if you will, anywhere or however you want to. It's free information. And it's there so that we can contribute to, I guess, the bigger picture of well-being. So the less we're stressing, the more we're contributing. So I just kind of want to spread the awareness of it and normalize it a little bit. I think people are a little bit scared of the subject, which is such a pity because, you could heal yourself and you can do so much. You can empower yourself so much with information if you're not scared of it. But it is a thing. It is a stigma, and it's very unfortunate to normalize it.
Yeah, I think the stigma really, really comes from and I find it with South Africans more than anything else, right? Americans love frou-frou. They love the touchy-feely, gooey kind of emotive, sort of, there's rainbows and unicorns and whatnot. So just talking about a society where the world burns around us and we will make jokes 5 seconds later. Right? We really not. So I think that's kind of where the stigma comes in. I think people kind of shy away from it. And certainly when I speak to people, it's I cut it down to baseline reality. Here's actually what's happening to you right now. You have that feeling. Here's how your brain's creating that. Here's how your body's creating that. It isn't about a magical unicorn that's coming along and doing this to you.
Right.
It's a physiological response to an actual experience that you're having. So I think a lot of people when they talk about coaching, when they talk about that, we're so Americanized, or should I say the stigma comes from that Americanization of it, where they really love to talk about all the softness, and we're just not soft people. We're not. I know a lot of my clients are like rough and tough, sturdy men. I've worked with guys from military and stuff like that, where I don't have time for softness. You know what I mean? Yeah. That you're gonna be okay. Don't worry. Just feel better. Just what I mean. They want to hear that like I feel a crack right now. What can I do right now? I need something practical right now that speaks to who I am as a person.
Yeah.
So I think that's really one of the things we're going to try to break through is get away from that sort of that frou-frou type of thing and get it into this is why this is important for you.
Yeah.
This is why it's going to help you in your life, how it's going to help your family, how it's going to, what I mean, almost make it like a generational legacy thing. You know what I mean? This isn't just, it's helping your parents, it's helping your kids.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I think that's one of the biggest challenges.
And I agree, like in a messaging point of view to getting it out there, how can we turn it from the fluffy to the practical? And because we already have that stigma, and also people are like, oh no, if you have a mental illness, you can't, you're sick, right? And that's taboo. You can't be sick like that. And I find like, no, but now you're just completely denying. Now that's airy-fairy in my mind. Now you need to come back to reality. How do I get you to go from that thinking but look at it practically? And that's where I like the idea of science. Science is coming into play. And speaking to people from a very sort of scientific way. It's kind of LinkedIn versus Facebook, if I correlate the two.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. Absolutely. I think I will try to root it in science. I will try to root everything that I do in science. The challenge then comes that it's very easy to lose people quickly that way as well. You start talking about different areas of the brain. So for example, myself, I talk about different areas of the brain. You talk about the amygdala, you talk about the hippocampus, you talk about prefrontal cortex, and you get these eyes just going bigger, and then you watch this little. Because it's actually, so it's kind of that balance between how do I take this scientific fact of what's happening to you and put it in a way that it doesn't actually scare you, or doesn't make you now, it doesn't repel you because you don't feel smart enough. You know what I mean? Like, oh, that's a big deal. I don't know what that means. You know?
Yeah.
So if you have the answer to that, please share it with me. It's been a huge challenge.
No, I mean, I'm so trying to discover the messaging. So honestly, when I started this, I thought, let me start where I am. Eventually it'll move out because people are experiencing something. So people will start talking about it in their experience, and the people that gravitate towards them are obviously trying to experience the same. So whether, you know, they know about it or not, they send a video or they tell you to connect here or there. And then that kind of, okay, I'm in my space, I'm safe, I'm in my safe bubble. My friends don't have to know that I'm worried about this and I'm watching the video. Or, you know, you should really join me. These things are helping on whatever level, even if it's just to, you know, educate yourself or hide behind the fact that you want to help someone else then, or maybe that's true. Maybe it's just a hiding. You never know. But you can speak to each other, and human to human, the communication will fly. It's when you get to the marketing that it becomes contrived, I think. And people are like, yeah, okay, what's this about, you know? So it's a tough one, but I'm hoping through faith that people hear my heart and that, you know, we connect and we start connecting on a bigger level, and more people will come to this. That's my hope, at least.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think these sessions are awesome. You know what I mean? It's like I was saying last week, though you know a lot of it, like you look at it from a different point of view.
Yeah.
The way that you just put the hierarchy then with the medium lines, with you know, the pineal gland, with the sacral, with the, you know what I mean? They've never looked at it from that point of view. That was that piqued my interest. I was like, oh wow, that's a unique way of putting that model together. I play with Maslow's, but I play with completely different, completely different. You know, so it was like a really, really nice acquisition. So yeah, and I think, you know, so it becomes one of these where you know, because we all have our own fields in the space here, so you kind of look and you go, I'm actually going to steal a little bit of that. And I'm going to take a little bit of that because that actually explains something. You know, there might be a nice way of explaining to somebody because they may not be understanding it the way that I'm saying. Yeah. So it's cool that we can sort of bounce this off of each other and sort of see how it lands. So it's a great container to do that in.
Yes, that's what makes it so nice, because I like the relaxed way. The perceptions are always different according to your experience, right? So your perception of this will be different to my perception, maybe depending on, and that's really nice when we can chat about it afterwards. You're kind of developing this bond, if you will, and people are comfortable with that and with those bonds as well. So now it becomes a place where I can just be, you know.
Yeah, and I think it also shows the commonalities once again between the different sort of disciplines, if you will, or fields. So from mine, for example, you do the skier. You know what I mean? And a lot of people, because they don't physically experience it at that moment in time, you kind of go, well, it's not real, you know, it's blah, blah, blah. But you can sort of take something out of this and say, you know, find a way to then make it real, if that makes sense. If you understand what I'm saying. So it's kind of like, hey, this experience people are having, you know, when you do meditation, get your skills doing the same thing. You know, for example, I'm speaking from a very uneducated point of view right now, but you understand what I'm saying. So I think that's also very, very cool because it helps us all to refine the message a little bit and go, okay, well, maybe let me put it to somebody like this. If they connect to that message, and I've seen them connect to that message, maybe let me explain what I'm doing in that message. And then they'll go, oh, okay, hey, oh, it does that. Oh, gee, I didn't know that. You know what I mean? So I'm just using that as an example. Like I say, Shulman, I'll be honest, I understand the science behind what you do, but I don't necessarily understand the challenge behind what you do, if you know what I mean.
I think that's where I'm hoping, if you have like a healing or something to contribute in that sense, and I think everybody does, whether they're attending, whether they are a business, there's always something to contribute because there's always a need. And when we start explaining that to people, how it can help related to this. That becomes a whole different conversation. So now you're not, marketing per se. You're speaking like, listen, this can really help you in this sense. And it helps, based on what we've heard tonight, this and this and this. I can't find the words per se, but I think you understand what I'm trying to say, right? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, guys. Is that a wrap? Have you guys got any more to add? Well, good. Okay, then I wish you guys a very warm, happy, peaceful evening. Don't forget to go write down your thoughts and then ask yourself, what can I do? What are the actions that I'm going to take? Cool, guys. Thank you so much.
Cool. Thanks, Candice.
We'll chat
Just
again.
a big
I'll
thank you,
post-
Candice.
It's a pleasure. I'll post.
Yeah, just a big thank you very, very much for the information this evening and for the exercise. It was awesome.
Pleasure. I'm glad. I'm going to send it via, what did I do last time? Oh, I put it on YouTube. So then I'll send you the link to YouTube. And then you can do that. And I'll send the video separately. I'm sorry about that. And you live and you learn. Okay.
Part of the process, doesn't it?
If you want to stop the recording, then I'll help you afterwards and show you how to do it.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you. Thank you, Sean.
I'll hold on then and I'll wait.
All right, cool.
Cool.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.